Hi, everyone. Welcome to part 3 of the 3 big questions for a frantic family. This is being re-recorded because of some technical issues. So we are going to go ahead and get started with part 3, the final part of this 3-part workshop. So 3 things we're going to be talking about tonight are business meetings, date nights, and the importance of health in families. So the first thing that we'll do is I'm going to show you what I think is a very funny video of the reality of family life and the craziness and sometimes the toxicity of family life and why health and business meetings are so important.
Babe, can you hurry up?
I can't figure out how to buckle this thing.
We're going like 3 miles. Who cares?
All right,
Leave
fine.
it.
What are you doing?
It's dry shampoo. Do you think I have time to shower?
Why do you need that? Just wake up earlier.
Oh, maybe if you'd help me with the kids, I could bathe.
I do everything in this house.
Babe,
that seatbelt thing drives me crazy. It gives me a headache. Can you buckle up?
Okay, maybe if you would do your job, I wouldn't have to.
Mom, Dylan's mad.
Why?
Why is he mad?
Because he lost his Triceratops.
Triceratops aren't even in
They're
the
not
Bible.
in the Bible.
Okay?
They don't
We learn
exist.
creation.
Here, put some of this under your eyes. Did you not get any sleep?
I got plenty of sleep. I'm fine. What?
Daddy stayed up playing poker.
Okay, enough. Play with the Barbies.
Can you please learn how to drive?
Listen, do your makeup at the house.
I don't have time. What is this, chocolate or poop? Baby, I'm trying to put my lipstick on. If you could.
He's learning about David and Goliath. Just let him shoot, okay?
Mom, Dylan wants to watch videos on Dad's phone.
Oh, I'm sorry, sweetie. Tell Dylan that Daddy's texting and driving, and he can't use
I'm
it.
navigating, all right? I'm on the GPS.
Okay, maybe if you went to church more, you wouldn't have to look up where it is. Can you stop hitting your brother, please?
I promise you, if I have to pull this car over, these spankings are about to be deep and wide. If your mother didn't have so many headaches at night, then maybe I wouldn't be such an irritable mood. You want to get control of your family.
Can you get control of the steering wheel, please? What is
on.
How long has this coffee been in here?
I don't know, since last week. You're in charge of the kids.
Oh, I'm in charge of the kids?
I don't know. Wives, submit to your husbands. Ever read that verse?
You ever heard the song, It Takes Two to Make a Thing Go Right?
That's not a Bible verse.
Sorry, kids. It sounds like Daddy needs a little NAPTIME.
Okay, maybe Mommy needs some MERLOT again.
Where is Barbie?
Barbie's staying at home today.
Okay, maybe Barbie stayed at home because she put on her makeup at the house.
Maybe Barbie needs a new kin. Please, can I have that?
And you would have another baby?
Oh, we're not going to the playground!
Quiet, I can't handle it. We are going to church.
Oh, well, I hope the sermon series is on patience today.
Okay, what?
You need it.
Come on, where is it?
Can you give me that?
Playground!
We're not... Okay, if you guys can act good for just 2 hours, we'll take you to Pizza Hut after church, okay?
Did you just bribe our children?
It's the only thing that works. We're about to go into church. Will you put your phone on silent?
Okay, maybe you should put your voice on silent.
Okay.
Babe, we're like 15 minutes late to church.
Should we just act like visitors and park in the front?
I don't know, we gotta put on our flashers for that.
Should we just drop the kids off and go to lunch?
Can we even do that?
We tithe enough, we should be.
Mom, Dylan said he has to pee.
Let him pee in his pants, I don't care.
We have the diaper bag, sweetie. It's the church nursery's problem. No, we're not watching Moana on the way to church.
On the way to church, it's always VeggieTales. On the way home, you can watch whatever you want.
We literally don't care.
Why on the way to church is it always VeggieTales?
It's Christian.
So we see in this video, I think it's really funny, that there's definitely some chaos in family life that's just going to be unavoidable. Kids shooting Nerf guns, or like just the frantic trying to get kids out of the door for church. But there are things like the passive aggression, the not being able to talk about intimacy, the just swipes at each other. Those are things that happen in family life when we aren't able to have these quality conversations on a regular basis. So moving forward, just as an overview, again, this is what we've accomplished for the last 3 weeks. And this week, we're talking about how do we put these things into practice. I'm talking about business meetings, date nights, and family meetings. This is our scorecard. This is what we will hope to finished by the end of this. So number one, we worked on our family mission statement and our family motto. Last week, we worked on our top priority or our rallying cry. And this week, we're going to be talking about how do we integrate these things into our day-to-day lives. So the first thing that we need to talk about before we get to this is to uncover some of these unhealthy tendencies that we have as families that can keep these things from thriving, keep this mission statement, this rallying cry, these business meetings from being what they want, what we want them to be and what they can be. And so we are taking this model from, again, the author of the book, The 3 Big Questions for a Frantic Family. He also wrote a book called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, which is a New York Times bestseller, hugely successful book, and also something that we use as a parish really often. I've just renamed it The 5 Dysfunctions of a Family because we are a team as a family. Mom and dad are the captain of the team, and and kids are the players. And we all have to work together to accomplish whatever it is that we're moving towards. But all the content is the same. I've just changed the word from family, team to family. So here are the 5 dysfunctions of a team. We're going to start at the bottom of this pyramid because it's the foundation of what it means to be a team or what it means to be a family, which is trust. The number one dysfunction is an absence of trust. This means that we're not willing to be vulnerable. We're not willing to have difficult conversations. Often it also means we don't affirm, we don't praise, and we just kind of keep things from our family. And so what we have to do to overcome this dysfunction is really what we say often is the leader has to go first. The parents have to go first. And this can seem really risky because we want to make sure that we're honoring proper boundaries between parents and children. But to start with vulnerability, to start with being real, obviously not crossing any sort of boundary of what should be shared with our children. But it's okay to tell your kids you're having a hard day. And it is essential to be vulnerable and honest with your spouse. That is the person above anyone else who should be receiving that treasured part of your heart, that intimate part of what you're thinking, feeling, desiring more than anyone else. They should know those things. So we have to start with being vulnerable. And if we don't have trust, then we are going to move into a fear of conflict. This is super common in marriage. If we don't trust each other, then we aren't going to be willing to have difficult conversations. We aren't going to be willing to have conflict about what's best moving forward. How do we overcome an issue? Maybe you were experiencing this when you're trying to figure out your mission statement or your rallying cry. And often if we don't have trust, then we butt up against disagreement and we either back off from it or we swing on the other side of the pendulum and we go into really dysfunctional conflict. And healthy conflict is possible and it is essential to a healthy family. So what do parents have to do? What do spouses have to do with each other? We have to mine for conflict. We have to dig for it. We have to notice when our spouse or our child isn't saying something that they think they want, that they need to say. We pull it out of them, not belligerently, but just saying, there's a piece of your heart, there's a piece of something that's happening in your mind, and I want to know it, and I need to know it. And so I'm going to just push you a little bit. I'm just going to push you a little bit. And this is something that we ought to do and that we try to do as a parish as well, to push on each other, to challenge each other, to say, okay, maybe our first inclination isn't the right one. How can we make sure that what we're doing is the best thing that we can be doing? And just recognizing that I don't have all the answers. I'm not going to lead a parish perfectly. I'm not going to lead a family perfectly. I need my partners in crime, whether it's my coworkers or my spouse, to help me decide what the best thing is to do. That moves into a fear of conflict, means that we're going to have a lack of commitment. There's a great company, Ford, that has a little, I don't know, a motto. It's not their company motto, but it's kind of like an insider motto where they say, disagree and commit. So you have to have conflict. You have to be able to explain and be heard. And so even if the decision is made different than what you think is best or what you you vocalized, if we're able to express what we think and express our opinion, we are going to be much more likely to what we call buy in to whatever the direction is. This is super important with kids, particularly as they're getting into their teen years and their preteen years. Parents might make a decision about something that a child disagrees with, but this child is a lot more likely to be bought into that decision if the parents hear them and respectfully listen to their opinion. Not just say, well, I'm the parent and it's my decision. Of course, it is our authority as parents to say, this is my decision. But we want healthy, thriving families, and we also want to set a good example for our children into adulthood. We don't want to set the example saying that, okay, kid, just do whatever you're told, don't ever push back, because as I would encourage you to listen to the Table Group, their podcast is called At the Table, and they talk all about the world of work, and they especially talk about something that we can all relate to, which is being in a miserable job. I can say happily my job is not miserable now, but I've been in miserable jobs before, jobs where I wasn't trusted and I didn't trust the people I was with. I was afraid to have conflict with them, and I was not bought in because my opinion wasn't valued. And so being able to express our opinions and disagree and have healthy ideological conflict. Because one thing that we say, and this is just as true in organizations as it is with families, is that conflict, if we avoid conflict around ideas, conflict will always start to center around people. So if I am afraid to have a disagreement with a coworker, for example, then I might have that fester about this coworker's idea. Maybe I disagree. Maybe I'm unsure of this person's intention or their motivation or something like that. Or maybe I just think, I don't know if that idea has been thought through entirely. If I don't express that and have that reconciling conversation with my coworker, then that conflict will start to center around that coworker in his or her character, their virtue, their behavior, and I will start to make assumptions that can be really dangerous and detrimental for my relationship with that coworker. So, of course, if we can't commit, if we're not committed, then we are not going to have accountability. We're not going to have accountability with one another. Something that Palangione says, who's the author and the creator of this model, is that if you aren't committed, then you aren't going to be, you're not going to hold someone accountable, because what you're going to do is you're going to see a project or you're going to see something happening in your family that you didn't agree with. And you're going to just kind of back up and fold your arms and grab your popcorn and just watch this ship sink and just say, see, I knew this was going to happen. And that is not that's not a functional attitude. It's not a healthy attitude in a family. And then finally, if we're not having accountability, if we're not saying, hey, you committed to this, or even saying, hey, we committed to have a weekly business meeting and we haven't been having it, or we committed to having a date night without the kids once a month and we haven't been having it, or hey, we talked about, eliminating spending on X, Y, and Z, and we didn't do that. Then if we aren't having those accountability conversations, then we're going to lead to what's the final dysfunction, which is inattention to results. Obviously, if we're not having accountability, then the end product, whether it's like a new iPhone or it's achieving a goal as a family, anything in the range of spectrum, if we do not have accountability conversations, we're not going to get the results that we want. So this is a really amazing model for looking at, okay, what do we need to do in order to have a healthy team? And that is to build trust, to have healthy conflict, to ensure commitment, to have accountability conversations, and to make sure to focus on results, on the collective results, not the results of the agenda of a particular person in the family, but the collective results of a family. So if that doesn't make sense, I know I didn't do an amazing job describing it. Go on YouTube and watch the 5 dysfunctions of a team video. He does great explanations of the 5 dysfunctions. Mostly they talk about them in relation to the work world. So I tried to cater it a little bit more to family life. But also his book, The Five Dysfunctions of a Team, is absolutely worth the watch. So this moves us on to our objective tonight, which is talking about family meetings and kind of the gamut of what family meetings can be. All right. 1, when and how are we going to have a weekly business meeting as a family? When and how often will we meet with our whole family and have family offsites, which are like family retreats, family brainstorm sessions, family vacations? And then how will we have healthy family conflict and buy-in, which is a lot of what we talked about previously. So what does a family meeting look like? This is a recommendation. This is not dogma or anything like that about family meetings, but these seem to be pretty good objectives for making sure we cover all of our bases. So first is a weekly business meeting with your spouse. Part of the reason that a weekly business meeting is so important is because if we don't have business meetings, then when we go out on a date, our date is going to turn into our business meeting. I am thinking about a scene from My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2, where husband and wife go out to dinner and they go on a date night, and like they both put this ton of effort into like looking great for their spouse, and they went to a really nice restaurant, and they had this rule: no talking about our kids on a date night, because they knew that that would just bring this romantic date night to a crashing halt. And they started talking about their daughter and everything that was going on in her heart and in her world. And of course it brought this pall on their date exactly like they thought it would. And so often, if we have not done a business meeting, our date nights are going to end up looking like business meetings, because it's going to be the first time that we've sat down to talk in a month or in a week. And all those important things, like we want to talk about them and we need to talk about them. But like we talked about last week, and we'll check in again this week, about having check-ins, having standard operating objectives that we're looking at, just evaluating what's always going to be important. When we do this in a business meeting every week, then when we go on our date night, it can actually be a date night, which is amazing. The second idea is having a monthly check-in with the whole family. Like, okay, family, like, especially if we've got kids in the home, or hey, maybe we have like an older parent that's living with us, or even, I don't know, I would love if more families did this. It would be amazing, to have more families that take in like single young adults to live with them, so that single young adults can experience what it means to be family. That was really transformational for me, to be able to live with just a good, holy Catholic family. That wasn't my family growing up. And I was able to just kind of see like, okay, what does this actually look like? And that was so wonderful for me. So having a monthly check-in with whoever's living in your house, your dog can come too, if you want to bring your dog, and just check in, how are things going with us, and reviewing with your family. It's a great idea to review with your family. What's our business, or what is our mission statement? What is our rallying cry right now? And then lastly, having around a quarterly evaluation of your rallying cry. Really, rallying cries shouldn't be more than like 6 months, probably. And it's always a good idea, again, go out of the house, have a business meeting with your spouse. I think I talked a couple weeks ago about going to Macaroni Grill, which is this great restaurant with delicious food that has tablecloths that are paper, and they give you crayons. They give the adults crayons. And so that's just like a great place to go and write out, okay, how are things going? Is it time for a new rallying cry? And just brainstorming together is a great idea. So this is our model for having 3 types of family meetings. Again, not overly burdensome. We're going to hear from a parish family in a little bit who says that their business meeting really doesn't take, unless they have like big issues to work out, it doesn't take more than 15 minutes usually. Having a monthly check-in with the whole family, that's probably like an hour, or maybe you just do it over dinner 1 month, and then it doesn't take up that much more time. And then a quarterly evaluation every three months, that's just a couple hours for a date night every 3 months. Not too bad. This is nothing that is in any way unmanageable for any group, any family at all.
We're the Duffys. We are two working parents, full-time working parents. We have a 4-year-old, and we're currently expecting baby number 2. And we have always found, with our work schedules being quite opposite, that there's not a lot of time to spend with each other. And when we would have time, we would often be going over the endless to-do lists that we both have, and never really got around to like maintaining a good relationship with us. So when we started having family business meetings, it was really nice because then a space was created for those to-do lists and for the like business part of running a family, the logistical stuff. And so it freed up the rest of the time that we spent together to just maintain a relationship between the two of us. And so currently our business meetings have revolved around preparing for baby number 2, and all the stuff that goes with that. I'll wait. Well, what do we do to prepare for baby? What do we need to do? What are the things we had to do to get ready for baby?
We had to build the crib. We had to pull the clothes from the attic.
Yeah, and go through all of our old baby stuff
Go
and
through them and wash them and get them ready, organize them.
mhm. We had to work with Monica to get her a little bit more independent so that mornings aren't crazy around here. Those types of things. And those are like the first things we check in on how we're doing with those things. Are so if we've done the clothes in the attic yet, or if how's Monica doing getting more independent, which she's doing great now, which is beautiful. And so that is the first thing that we can go over. And then that generally happens fairly quickly, just because it's a brief, real quick, how's this going? Yes, no, good, bad. Have we done that yet? No, okay, still got to do it. And then we are able to go into those other things that we need to discuss as like, a married couple, whether it's like what's going on for both of us at work currently, what things do we need like coverage for childcare, where are our budgeting, where's our budget at, where's our what's going on at Monica's school, what things are on the radar coming up soon, things like that. I mean, so what other things do we like need to talk about on a regular basis that we have in our meetings? And we always go over our budget.
Yeah, and we always talk about whatever we need to do for work, like doctor's appointments or whatever.
Yeah, that's a good calendar stuff.
Yeah.
That's always a good one. That's always like the end where we discuss who's gonna watch Monica win.
Facts.
And I mean, realistically, like our lives have changed because of the pandemic. So like, it's not too often where I'm not home to watch Monica. So
more, pretty often it's you.
Facts. But I mean, but it's good to continually talk about those things and have a space for them so that we're not like worried about the
not being prepared, I guess.
Yeah, like being prepared, and then also like I feel like when we don't talk about them regularly and have like create a space for them to be brought up, those things are like always on our mind. And so we're not able to like think about anything else. Like we're not thinking about like, oh, I have this thing going on at work and like I need Alex to watch Monica for this time. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that. And so I'm constantly thinking about that.
Just stresses you out.
Yeah, it just creates a lot of stress. But knowing that there's that set space for that discussion to happen allows like me to, excuse me, it allows me to put put that aside because I know that at some point we're going to handle it and we're going to talk about it, instead of just like the unknowns, you know? Yeah.
Kind of just plan out the week.
Yeah, that's good. And then, I mean, realistically, we also talk about like what chores need to get done around the house. But those are just like everyday, like family things that need to happen. Grocery shopping, we talk about those things then. But yeah, no, I think the benefit of it is that at like when you come home from work, like we're not stressed out about um what's going on for dinner. Do we have 3 things on the calendar for this evening? We're just able to like be a family, and spend time like with Monica before she is no longer an only child and that kind of stuff. Yeah, I think it's created a little bit more peace in our life. I don't know. I feel like that's pretty much all we have to say. Like it's not really complicated. I feel like it seems complicated in the beginning to start these things because it feels so like formal, and you're like, oh, our family shouldn't be formal, but like in reality these meetings take like 5 to 10 minutes, 15 if we really need to talk about some things. But they're real quick and they just take a lot of like stress off of our family. And it's a good way for us to maintain the same page, just like constantly on the same page, just because our work lives are vastly different, even outside of a pandemic. Like I do a lot of nights and weekends, you do a lot of mornings, you do like those types of things are important, but it's also really good to be able to like have that one set goal that we're both working towards, and maintaining that like same page. It helps maintain that like team aspect because the Duffys work better when they work together, and when they work against each other. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad when we work against each other, but we're pretty good when we're on the same team.
All right, so let's talk just really briefly about a weekly structure for our family business meetings. First thing we're going to do is evaluate our defining objectives, evaluate the things that are connected with our rallying cry. So again, this is just a refresher. If our rallying cry is get ready for baby number 4, then this could be an example of concrete goals, defining objectives that we are using in order to say, okay, if we get these 5 things done or these 6 things done, we can say we are ready, and we can say we've accomplished our rallying cry. And the next thing that you're going to do is evaluate your standard operating objectives. These are things that are always important no matter what. This is, again, just an example of the 5 Ps that I talked about last week, where we're covering prayer. How's your prayer life doing? Have you gone to confession lately? Do we need to pray together about something? Your person, how are you doing intellectually, physically, emotionally? Your partner, how is our relationship? How is it going between the two of us? Parent, how is it going with each of our individual children? How's it going with natural family planning? Do we think we're ready for another baby? How are things going with the kids' school? That sort of thing. And then provider, which is talking about your finances. This is a good way of evaluating, but again, we can make our own determination of what we think is the best way for our family, whatever your family needs, whatever we think are the most important things that we need to check in about all the time. And now it's going to be your turn. So I am once more going to give you just 5 minutes to evaluate your defining objectives and your standard operating objectives. The best way to do this really is not talk overly too much about it. But what you're going to do is just look at each of those and you're going to give them red, yellow, or green. Okay, green being, is this making excellent progress or is it complete? Yellow is moderate progress. And then red is like, okay, we really need to work on this, or we haven't made any progress on it. So just take each of your categories, and if you have that scorecard printed out, look and just fill it in or write red, green, yellow for each of the objectives and go through each of them. And then what you'll do is say, okay, what are at the end of that, maybe it'll just take a minute to evaluate all of those objectives and to say, and make sure that, again, that we're each weighing in, not just one person saying, okay, red, 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 yellow, red, green, red. Make sure that we both have input about what color we think it should be. And then you spend the rest of your business meeting looking at, okay, what's red here, what's yellow here, and what do we need to focus on this week? So 4 minutes, that's all you need to evaluate these defining objectives and your standard operating objectives. All right, our timer's freezing out, so we'll call that good. If you need more time, obviously this is a recording, so you can just pause it until you're ready and then we'll continue. So if that works out nicely. We will start. finish with just some helpful questions as you continue. Think about what day of the week will we have our business meeting. I am a routine junkie. I love having a routine, and even more, I need routine. And so having a set day of the week for a business meeting is always a really good idea. We are going to have my husband and I for a really long time. We haven't been great at this lately, but have our business meeting Sunday mornings after mass. We would go out to breakfast and have our business meetings then. That worked out great for us. Secondly, when will we have our monthly check-in with our children? That's just a good thing to think about. Obviously, it's just once a month, so it's a little easier to put off doing and a lot easier to forget. So keep that in mind. Maybe having something routine would be really helpful. Number 3, when are we going to carve out date time? Date nights are important. So carving those out is really essential. When are we planning on being done with this rallying cry and moving on to the next? And then when are we going to carve out, this is an aside, but also essential, carving out individual dates with each of our children, making sure that our kids are getting one-on-one time with each of their parents. Very important stuff to consider. So here's your homework. Set dates for your family meetings. Think about when is your weekly meeting going to be, your monthly meeting going to be, and maybe even plan out far enough ahead to think about when do we think this rallying cry might be over, and maybe carve out, say, okay, if we need a good amount of time, heads up to plan a 3-hour dinner outside of the house, then maybe it would be a good idea to plan that out sooner rather than later. And then lastly, just complete your family scorecard, because you will have all 3 of the 3 big questions of a frantic family answered and ready to go, and have that on hand for your future meetings. So without further ado, we just thank you guys so much for being here and for joining us for these 3 meetings. I pray that they have been fruitful and effective, and I am praying for each of your families. And keep me posted, because I want to hear how answering these 3 big questions is helping your family. So God bless.